one bite, one missed hook set. Then the whole bank goes silent. You cast again because that is what every angler does. Same spot, same bait, same float, nothing. The mistake is not the missed fish. The mistake is what you did in the 90 seconds before that bite ever happened, and what you do in the 10 seconds right after. You think the fish moved, but the spot was shut down by a chain you triggered without realizing it. This is not one mistake. It is a chain of 5, each one small enough to ignore on its own. But together, they explain almost every case of a bank spot that bites once and goes silent. Old anglers learned to recognize and break this exact chain, and none of the fixes require new tackle. Here is the full chain in order, so you can see how it builds before we break down each link. First, the cast lands too close. Second, your footstep reaches the fish before your bait does. Third, your shadow crosses the water like a predator. Fourth, the splash confirms the danger. Fifth, you cast right back into the same wounded spot. Any single one of these would only cost you a few fish. Stacked together, in the same 90 seconds, they explain why a spot that should be loaded with bluegill produces exactly one bite and then nothing. The first link in the chain is the cast itself. Bluegill near the bank detect vibration through their lateral line before they see anything. And in water under 4 or 5 feet, a splash can radiate 10 feet or more at full strength, well inside what feels like a safe casting distance. Most anglers already suspect this one. What they miss is that it never acts alone. The second link happens before the cast even leaves your hand. How you arrived at the spot matters. A heavy step onto a hollow dockboard, or even a firm footfall on soft bank mud near the water's edge, sends vibration directly into the water ahead of you. That vibration travels faster and further through water than through air, which means fish near the bank often register your approach several seconds before your line ever touches the surface. By the time you cast, the fish closest to you may already be on alert, which makes them far more reactive to everything that follows. The third link is your shadow. As you set up to cast, your body or your rod tip frequently passes between the sun and the water, throwing a moving shadow across the surface in front of you.
To a fish,
Bluegill and
a
other
shadow is a
panfish
matter of
treat a
life and
shadow
death.
crossing overhead
Whether
the same
bird
way
or
they treat
angler,
a diving
the response
bird.
is the same.
Because for the
It
entire
is an
evolutionary
ancient
history of
survival
the
instinct.
species, movement overhead at the surface has meant exactly that kind of danger. A fish that was merely alert from your footstep a moment earlier now sees a shadow sweep across its position, and the caution compounds. This is the point where a fish that might have tolerated one issue starts actively preparing to leave. The bait is not even in the water yet, and the fish has already received 3 warnings.
3 of
It has
5
felt your
links
approach,
already triggered
registered a shadow
before the
overhead,
cast even
and is now
lands.
sitting in a heightened state of alert before your cast has even left your hand. None of this shows up on the surface where you are standing. The water still looks calm. The float still sits where you placed it. But 3 full warnings have already landed by the time your bait is in the air. The fourth link is the splash itself. A high, hard overhand cast that drops the bait straight down, hits the water with sharp, concentrated force, especially in shallow water, where there is little depth to absorb that energy. To a fish that is already on alert from your footstep and your shadow, this splash is often the final trigger. It does not create the danger response, it confirms it. The fish that was cautiously holding now moves, decisively, toward deeper or more covered water, and it does not wait to investigate what just landed near it. The missed fish is not what kills the spot. The immediate recast is what seals it. After that first bite, often from the one fish still bold enough to test the bait despite everything that just happened, you miss the hook set, and instinct says cast right back in. But that water has already been hit twice, once by your original approach, once by a hooked and lost fish thrashing at the surface. Casting back in immediately stacks a third disturbance on fish that are already thoroughly spooked. This is why you get exactly 1 bite and then silence. It is rarely that the fish disappeared or that the spot went cold. It is that 5 small disturbances landed on the same water within about 90 seconds. Footstep, shadow, splash, missed hook set, and an immediate recast. And the fish that remain are now holding tight, motionless, and unwilling to commit to anything. The spot is not empty. It is recovering from a chain reaction you triggered without ever realizing you had done anything wrong. Before you cast again, change where the bait lands. Breaking the first link starts with that one decision. Stop casting directly onto the spot and start casting several feet past it, into slightly deeper or less critical water. Then slowly drag or retrieve the bait into the productive zone. This puts the splash and the initial disturbance outside the area where fish are holding, giving them time to settle before the bait ever arrives there. The fish in the actual target zone never experience that first impact directly. Before your foot hits the dock, slow down. Breaking the second link means changing how you walk up to the water. Approach shallow holding spots slowly and deliberately. Distribute your weight evenly, rather than stomping down with each step. And if you are on a hollow dock, slow down even further. The hollow structure amplifies vibration more than solid ground does. A soft, unhurried approach gives the fish no early warning before you are even in casting position. Before you settle into position, check the sun. Breaking the third link means paying attention to where it sits relative to your body and the water. Position yourself so your shadow falls behind you or to the side, rather than sweeping across the spot you intend to fish. If the sun is directly behind you, stay slightly further back from the immediate edge before your first cast, since your shadow will reach further across the surface than you might expect from a standing position. Before you raise the rod, change the swing. Breaking the fourth link means adjusting the cast itself. A soft, low, sidearm, or underhand lob puts dramatically less energy into the water on entry than a high overhand cast. For tight, shallow bank water specifically, this gentler delivery should become the default, not the exception saved for especially calm days. Old anglers who fished docks and brush lines daily developed this motion almost automatically, because a hard splash in tight water cost them fish every single time. After you miss one, walk away. Breaking the fifth link is simple, but requires patience most anglers do not naturally have after a missed fish. Do not cast immediately back into the same spot. Move to a different stretch of bank, fish it for 10 or 15 minutes, and circle back. Research on panfish behavior under disturbance suggests recovery from a significant scare can take anywhere from several minutes to 15 minutes or more. Giving that window time to pass is the single highest value adjustment in this entire chain, because it turns one ruined spot into a spot you can fish again within the same session. When all 5 links are broken at once, the difference is not subtle. Bites come in clusters instead of single isolated taps, because the fish near the bank were never pushed into a defensive state to begin with. A missed hook set no longer ends the spot. You simply rotate away and return once the water has settled. None of these ideas are new. Old bank anglers worked this same sequence without ever naming it as 5 separate steps. What is new is understanding that they only work together. 3 of the 5 still leaves enough disturbance in the chain to shut a spot down after the first bite. The same bank, the same bluegill population, the same bait, but a session that produces fish for hours instead of one solitary bite, followed by silence. The checklist for the full chain. Cast. Land it 8 to 10 feet past the target and drag it in, never directly onto the spot. Approach. Walk soft and slow, especially on a hollow dock. Shadow. Keep it behind or beside you, not sweeping across the water ahead. Entry. Use a low, soft cast rather than a hard overhand drop. Recovery. If you miss a bite, move on and return in 10 to 15 minutes instead of casting straight back in. Break any one link, and you save a few fish. Break all 5 and the bank stops going quiet after a single bite. Subscribe to Traditional Angling for more field-based fishing knowledge.